How Diddy ruined Wendy's career. Diddy and Wendy Williams have always had a complicated relationship, to say the least, and Diddy basically tried to ruin Wendy's career. It all goes back when Wendy was starting to make waves in the radio world with her show, The Wendy Williams Experience. But of course, Wendy didn't shy away from the juicy gossip, and that's where Diddy entered the picture. In her book, The Wendy Williams Experience, Wendy reveals how Diddy was none too pleased with some of the things she had been saying about him. She openly discussed his rumored relationships, his business dealings, and his involvement with other artists, and Diddy was not having it. She claimed that Diddy went out of his way to try and sabotage her career, and when Wendy wasn't backing down, things took a darker turn. Wendy herself has said in interviews that Diddy used his power to blacklist her. In a radio interview, she dropped a bombshell, saying that she had been almost jumped by the girl group Total, who was signed to Diddy's label Bad Boy. Wendy even suggested that Diddy was somehow involved in the attack. And let's be real, this was no small accusation. Total wasn't just some random group, they were Diddy's protégés. So when Wendy threw out the idea that Diddy might have had a hand in it, she was essentially saying that he could make things happen, for better or for worse. But it didn't stop there. Wendy also claimed that her radio career took a hit because of Diddy. In an interview, she said that she was let go from her radio job, in part due to the things she was exposing about Diddy's personal life. She didn't just claim to have a falling out with him. She suggested he had been actively trying to ruin her career. All of this adds to the long history of Wendy and Diddy's back and forth. Wendy has always been unapologetically honest, even when the truth didn't sit well with some of Hollywood's biggest names. From allegations to arrest, Diddy's recent arrest and indictment have turned the entertainment world upside down, and you can bet Wendy Williams would have had a lot to say about it. The charges against Diddy are shocking, to say the least. Forced labor, obstruction of justice, and a host of other chilling. Federal authorities have gathered testimony from over people, and their investigation has unearthed some seriously disturbing details. For instance, authorities found over bottles of baby oil, weapons, and evidence of wild-fueled parties allegedly thrown by Diddy, where coercion and manipulation were a regular part of the scene. Talk about a scandal that would have kept Wendy busy for weeks. Now, let's not forget about Wendy's decades-long history of calling out Diddy. She was one of the first to publicly hint at the darker side of his empire and the disturbing rumors surrounding him. From his relationships to the alleged shady business practices, Wendy didn't hold back when it came to Diddy. Back in she interviewed former Bad Boy rapper Mark Curry, who talked about Diddy's dark cloud of secrets and how it would rain down on anyone around him. Wendy didn't just sit there and nod. She agreed with everything Curry said, giving listeners a glimpse into Diddy's world that wasn't all glitz and glamour. In fact, Wendy was the one to bring up the power imbalance in Diddy's relationship with Cassie, which was a key point in the lawsuit Cassie filed years later. When it came to Diddy's treatment of Cassie, Wendy wasn't afraid to speak up. She made it clear that Diddy's influence over her, from his controlling behavior to the power dynamic he created, was concerned. It was the same behavior that Cassie would later describe in her lawsuit against Diddy, where she detailed how he subjected her to physical and emotional pain. Wendy's warnings seemed almost prophetic, and the world is now starting to see just how accurate she was. But here's where it gets interesting. While Wendy's career took a hit for calling out Diddy all those years ago, it's now clear that the very things she exposed about him were not just rumors or gossip. Wendy was trying to warn us about the darker side of the music mogul long before the rest of the world was ready to listen. Diddy's arrest and the charges against him confirmed that Wendy wasn't just stirring the pot for drama's sake. She was reporting the truth, no matter how hard it was to swallow. Now, as Diddy faces the consequences of his actions, it's clear that Wendy's hard-hitting approach was, in the end, a service to the public. She called out the powerful figures of the entertainment industry when others were too scared to. Her boldness was her superpower. So while Diddy's facing his day in court, Wendy's still the one who warned us about everything that was coming full circle. Wendy Williams exposes Diddy's secrets with Jlo. Wendy Williams has always been the queen of spilling the tea, and when it came to Diddy and his history with Jennifer Lopez, she didn't hold back. Back in the whole world was buzzing about the drama between Diddy, J-Lo, and that infamous nightclub shooting. As usual, had her own spicy take on the situation and wasn't afraid to air Diddy's dirty laundry for all to hear. She called him out for being what she described as obnoxious for how he handled the whole mess. Wendy didn't stop there. She also hinted at something that many people speculated about for years, the idea that Diddy might have set up his friend Shine to take the fall for that nightclub incident. According to Wendy, Diddy didn't take responsibility for the shooting. Instead, he made sure Shine, who was involved in the incident, was the one who got the blame. Wendy was quick to call it out, and to be honest, she wasn't the only one with suspicions. It was like the whole world was side-eyeing Diddy's involvement in the mess, but Wendy was one of the few public figures who was brave enough to speak her mind about it. And then there was the issue of J-Lo. Wendy wasn't afraid to call out Diddy for the way he manipulated his relationship with her, too. She pointed out how Diddy used their high-profile romance to boost his own image, while J-Lo was left to deal with the aftermath of the drama. Wendy didn't exactly buy the fairy tale narrative that Diddy and J-Lo were just two lovebirds caught in a whirlwind of media attention. Fast forward to today, and Wendy's expose on Diddy and J-Lo's relationship still holds weight. Looking back, she was one of the first to call out the truth behind their glamorous yet deeply problematic romance. While everyone was busy praising Diddy for being the bad boy mogul with the world at his feet, Wendy was sitting in her purple chair, telling us all that something just didn't add up. And as usual, she was right. Jay-Z was just like Diddy. Wendy Williams has always been the queen of calling out the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And when it came to Diddy and Jay-Z, Wendy wasn't about to let the public image of these two moguls fool anyone. In fact, she often pointed out the shocking similarities between them, saying they were both masters of controlling their empires and hiding their dark secrets. When Wendy dug into Jay-Z's rumored relationships with younger women, she didn't hold back. She openly discussed how Jay was allegedly involved with Foxy Brown when she was just years old. Wendy wasn't the only one bringing up the unsettling details. It was a topic that had been whispered about for years. But Wendy wasn't shy. She painted Jay-Z as someone who used his power to control the women in his life, which mirrored Diddy's own controlling ways, especially with Cassie. Wendy didn't hesitate to expose how Jay-Z allegedly manipulated young women to maintain his empire, just like Diddy did. But it wasn't just their relationships that connected the two moguls. Wendy also pointed out that Diddy and Jay-Z were business counterparts who built their fortunes through similar controversial means. Both men used their power and influence to maintain control of the music industry and to secure their legacies. Wendy wasn't afraid to talk about their past legal battles, shady dealings, and questionable business moves. Wendy also didn't shy away from drawing parallels between their personal lives. Take Beyoncé, for example. Wendy was one of the first to suggest that Jay-Z had a certain level of control over Beyoncé. She didn't mince words about the rumors that Jay-Z had a tight grip on his relationship with her, keeping her in line both personally and professionally. Wendy compared that to how Diddy allegedly controlled Cassie's life. In Wendy's eyes, both moguls had a similar pattern of manipulating those close to them, whether it was women or business partners. When Wendy brought up Jay-Z's history with R. Kelly, it only added to her argument that these two men were cut from the same cloth. She suggested that Jay-Z was aware of, if not complicit in, R. Kelly's exploitation of girls. And just like Diddy, Jay-Z's ties to shady characters and questionable behavior weren't exactly a secret. Wendy was fearless in pointing out how Jay-Z's connection to the disgraced R. Kelly and the rumors about their shared history with Aaliyah seemed suspicious.